Welcome to our OnePlan Academy hosted Tech Tuesday, Introduction to Project Management with OnePlan's Work Plan module. Tuesday is a webinar series presented by the OnePlan Academy team to provide you with short, focused sessions on OnePlan best practices, tips, and tricks. Throughout the series, we'll explore all aspects of OnePlan with today's focus on how to use OnePlan's Work Plan module for project and schedule management. My name is Deb Roth.
And I'm Tina Shirk.
And I'm the OnePlan Education and Training Manager and OnePlan Academy instructor. And Tina is?
I'm also an instructor and the technical documentation lead for OnePlan.
First, we need to run through some general housekeeping items before we get started with today's session. Now we're going to move into the learning objectives for today. Our goal today is to help you understand how OnePlan's Work Plan module is designed to align with industry best practices and also demonstrate how the Work Planner can empower you, your organization's ability to create robust work plans for your projects. In addition, we will guide you through the basics of setting up and navigating the Work Plan module, including how to simplify project scheduling with user-friendly tools and ways to create and maintain your projects, how to create customized work plans with the help of OnePlan's virtual AI assistant, Sophia, show you how you can benefit from seamless integration with various project management tools like Microsoft Project, Project Online, or Azure DevOps. We're going to show you how you can leverage the different templates as frameworks for the way you can create and simplify and accelerate the process for creating your OnePlan work plan, show you how to manage backlogs visually for better organization and prioritization. Let's talk about why this is important. As you know, project management and project scheduling is a structured approach to be able to steer us and our projects towards meeting their objectives while considering how to balance and optimize scope, budget, and the schedule or the timeline, also known as the triple constraints. Using project management tools like OnePlan, as you'll see on the next slide, is essential for project managers because these tools help us streamline tasks, aid resource allocation, provide real-time insights, facilitate communication, and proactive risk management. Focusing on these aspects not only aids in us navigating projects to success, but it also helps foster stakeholder satisfaction and our competitiveness because we can do things more quickly and in an organized fashion, be adaptable to how changes are affecting our environment, and continuous improvement in processes across projects and lessons learned. Just to let you know, for those of you who are new to OnePlan, then you may not know exactly what the Work Plan module is and how it works. Just simply put, the OnePlan Work module provides a set of comprehensive features that will help project managers plan, track, collaborate, and report effectively, which means that with OnePlan, you can achieve better project outcomes. The key features of the OnePlan Work module that we are going to focus on specifically today are how OnePlan enhances collaboration and communication, provides real-time insights into project progress, can streamline the workflow and increase efficiency across all of your projects that you're working on, how it can help you improve your resource management and how doing so can help reduce the risk to delivery. Supports, again, and along those lines, it supports proactive risk management. It integrates with other OnePlan components like Sophia Virtual AI. And then really importantly, how you can think about how you could customize OnePlan to meet your needs and your processes and scale to the way how your organization does its projects. Finally, we're going to show you how incorporating the OnePlan Work module into your your project management workflow can greatly improve and reduce risk and improve your project success and stakeholder satisfaction. Now I'm going to turn it over to
Now that we're in OnePlan, today, like we were saying, we are focusing on the OnePlan work plan. So first and foremost, we need to go over how you can access your work plans. And as with everything in OnePlan, and you'll find as you use OnePlan more and more, there are myriad different ways that you can do things in OnePlan. So we're going to go over really quickly how to access your work plan in a couple of different ways. First, you have your home page, which when you log into OnePlan, this is a great kind of dashboard for you as a user to be able to see what's going on, especially if you're a project manager. You can see your conversations here, kind of get updates on tasks and things like that. But also you have quick access to all the plans that you're working on down here in the plans panel. So to access the work plan for these projects, it's very simple. You can click here on the little hamburger icon or the contextual menu next to the plan that you want to access. And then if you scroll down, you'll have the details. You can see you can access all of the different modules of your plan. And we're particularly interested in the work plan. So you can dive right into the work plan, and I selected the list, quickly and immediately access and dive right into that schedule for your work plan, for this particular plan from the home page. Similarly, if you're in the My Portfolio area, let's say you're managing a bunch of projects and you're working in the portfolio area, you can do something similar as well. So we're going to keep using this data warehouse migration example. To access the work plan, you can either click on the title here, and it'll take you to the plan details form for that project, or again, you can use that contextual menu like on the home page, click on it, go down to the work plan and select list. And this will redirect you directly to the work plan for this particular project. So those are a couple of ways to quickly access the work plans for your various projects. So now that we're inside of this plan, let's take a quick look around at what we have in front of us. So we dove right into that work plan list, which is going to be a list view of the schedule for this project, including all of the parent tasks, and you get this nice grid of information able to view the schedule from this way. Additionally, inside of each plan, this might be a little different from plan to plan, but this plan in particular has all of the planning modules or work planning modules available that OnePlan offers. So to start, you have your plan details page, which we'll talk about a little bit in just a little bit more detail in just a second, but this is really like your project charter. It's where you enter in all of that data for your project, including details and a bunch of other information that's really important for you to keep track of for this particular plan in more of a form format, right? It's more of that form-like data that lives here in the project details. Next up, you have your financial planner, which is where you can keep track of all the financial data for this particular plan. Similarly, you have a plan level resource plan, which is where you can keep track of all of that resource allocation data for this particular plan as well. So we took a look at the work plan list. There's also a board view of the work plan. So if you like to work in more of an agile way or prefer to work in more of this visual board view, that is available to you as well in the OnePlan plans. And finally, we have all of our reporting options. So OnePlan offers a robust set of reports out of the box for your different plans, such as status reports, which are directly tied to your plan details page. So as you update data in the plan details and in your plan itself, it will automatically update your status reports. But there's also the visualizer, which helps you visualize different connections and dependencies between this plan and other plans in your organization. You have your insights, which is similar to the homepage insights, and it gives you kind of a high-level overview of items that need attention in this particular plan. And finally, we have the dashboards where here we have it set up with Power BI reports directly inside of OnePlan. So you can easily access that reporting data and those nice visual reports here from your plan. What this really does and what I really wanted to do here was highlight the power of OnePlan, that all of your plan data from your resources to your financials to the schedule and so on are all available in one singular location, all connected together. So all of your plan data is in one place. So it makes the management of your plans, if you have a bunch of different plans or if you're only working on one, really simple because everything is in one location. So next, I mentioned I wanted to go back and give a little bit of extra attention to these plan details. So this OnePlan plan details form, like I said, you can think of it as sort of your project charter. These detail forms are incredibly customizable, and they're all going to look a little bit different depending on your organization and how they set it up. But This is where project managers are going to be entering in that metadata for this particular plan. The metadata entered into this details form directly impacts roll-up values in the work plan and reports. And that means that the more information that you can provide in your plan details form, the better, because it's the opportunity that for you to use this information. It offers you the opportunity to use this information in different ways throughout OnePlan and in your project itself. So like I said, consider this information that you include in your details to be like that you would include in your project charter. This means you can use the project details form to capture and centralize the same types of information you would include in your project charter. If a project charter has already been created, you can even go ahead and link that document inside of your plan details form so you don't have to repeat that information, but you still have it available in one centralized location. So there's an option here to use this hyperlink where you can link, let's say you have it in like a SharePoint folder or something like that. The great thing about keeping this information in OnePlan is that it becomes part of a centralized repository, like I mentioned before, of plans across your organization. Not only does this support understanding of the overall work that is occurring across the organization, but by keeping all of your plans within one plan, you better gauge resource availability with shared resources within the organization. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand this back over to Deb to go over how to create work plans.
Thanks, Tina. Really, what I want to do now is take what Tina just showed you, and then I'm going to show you how to actually dive in and start all the different ways that you can create a plan in OnePlan, in the OnePlan work plan, because we know that there's different ways that different organizations are using different tools. So the idea here is, as you get started, you can use a predefined template, and I'll show you all the different templates that are already in the template library from OnePlan, and how you can say personal templates, organizational templates, different ways to do that. Maybe you are you're tracking your schedules in Excel right now, and that's okay. You can use an Excel CSV file and be able to import the plan via CSV into the OnePlan work plan module. You can create a schedule directly in the work planner, so you can have just from scratch directly in the work planner. I'll show you how you can use what we call the OnePlan connector to publish a project. I won't demonstrate, but you can see how you can continue to use the tools that you already have and be able to move everything into OnePlan for the overarching portfolio management and tracking the centralization of the resources and the portfolio across the organization. Finally, what I want to also show you is how you can use our virtual AI assistant, Sophia, to actually generate templates or address other key questions that maybe you have for your schedule. So before we jump into the different work plan options that I just mentioned to you, we want to just kind of cover a few general best practices, tips and tricks, and how to get started. Now, what Tina showed you before was how you can access your plans directly from your own homepage, your personal homepage, and you can create them from the homepage. What I just showed you was the aggregation and the centralization of all of the work plans from everybody in the organization that is overseeing these plans. And just by way of terminology, a plan, we use the term work plan somewhat interchangeably with project scheduling. So that's a OnePlan term. The first thing that we need to do, and Tina mentioned that, the first thing that needs to happen is that you need to confirm that there is actually a project that has been created. Then, if not, you need to create a new project to be able to get all of the information that you would need. I'm going to name this Tech Tuesday. Or I'm sorry, this needs to roll up to the portfolio because OnePlan is a hierarchical structure in terms of how the projects and the epics and these different to-do lists, they roll up to programs and portfolios ultimately. Now, this is all configurable, but that's going to be the standard hierarchy that we're going to show you today. And then beneath that, it rolls up under a program And I think, right. So in here, we need to have this, this plan, right? We need to have the details made available, and then Tina will go into this a little bit later, and then you can see how this actually creates all of the things that are related to the Tech Tuesday project financials resource work plan and reporting that Tina just showed you. First thing you would do is enter these details and review what the default task mode and task type are. This will play in extensively to what we're going to talk about later when we actually get into the work plan itself. You'll have the project name, the project manager. So I'm going to be the manager here. You can have the business unit, right? So this will all aggregate into reporting. Right now, I'm going to do minimal here because I want to really focus in on the different ways you can create a plan. So the next thing that we do is I'm just going to show you some basics here. You can see here that there's nothing actually populated because we've just created that high level of detail. In terms of important elements when you start looking at these plans, looking at the plan start date. Let's talk about this calendar icon, the plan start date. The start date, if you're using other scheduling tools, by the way, like other scheduling engines, the OnePlan Work Planner is a sophisticated relational database that already does a lot of the work for us. So in this case, the plan start date is today, and that is typically what you'll find. You can change that plan start date, but the key element here for you to think about is that every task that you add, it's considered forward scheduled. That means that every task, based on the fact that this is the start date and we are auto scheduling the tasks you need to save, will start from the original start date on when the plan is created, or if you decide that maybe it's going to be later, okay? So that's easily changeable, but this is a tip and a trick that probably for those of you that already use some different scheduling engines, if you're using the auto schedule mode for your tasks, it will be very similar to what you see in some of these other schedules. We will also show you the OnePlan work plan will support all of the standard task dependencies like start to finish. Let me just show you in here. Each task, you may find that some of this project, these task information is similar to maybe some of other tools that you're seeing, but you can start to see your task type, any constraints. You can start looking at different dependencies, right? And so you can start determining if it's finish to finish, finish to start with, which is our standard, start to start, and start to finish. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Tina will talk more about that as we move into more advanced tips and tricks. But what I'd like to do is shift over now and show you how you can actually save some time with creating a project plan by using a predefined template. So as you know, like maybe you're doing different projects, or your organization has different templates that you use as a starting point for the way you develop out the project schedules. And you can take those patterns, you can implement them and actually use them in OnePlan. That way you can save the structure of a work plan to use when you're creating other work plans. And then that can become especially helpful, as you know, when, as I mentioned, your projects are showing some sort of similar paths and maybe a standard plan structure. These can be used across all the different work types. And let me just kind of show you. We can go in here and go to the work plan list. I can move over here. So in here you can start to see the work type is schedule. So you need to be in schedule to start adding templates. So let's look at a different, you don't need any different tasks in here. But let's do a deeper dive on the different types of templates that you can see. From the schedule work type, I'm going to go into this contextual menu and I'll scroll to insert template. There's different templates that can be used One is an organizational level template. These are ones that are created and added to the template library that can be used by anyone in the organization that has access to create and manage the work plans. Because they're available to everyone that has this access, the goal is really about standardization to be used as a starting point for you. And so that best practice, I think the tip and trick is for these org templates, you want to probably have that process. Maybe it's through your PMO or another part of your organization that has this oversight into these processes. This, again, has been added by the people with the access rights to do so. And once it's available, you can have multiple templates in here. You can add it. So I click. There's going to be different locations, but there's no tasks in here yet. And then I'll be able to map these resources. I'll show you how to do that later. They need to be enterprise resources. Okay, so there may be no tasks in there right now in that template. We'll go back in and we'll do that a little bit later. The personal templates, I'm going to go back in here, show you a different example. Every time you need to go to the work plan, it will take you to, and then go to that work plan option, insert the template, and then a personal template. Let's just say, let's go back in here. There's already one that I like, but let's just say, for example, I like this, I'm going to go to the data warehouse migration, and I'm going to go to the list. And I actually really like this template. So what I can do is I can save a template, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. And in order for me to save it as a personal template, I need to click here, this checkbox, and then that's only for me. If I just save it, it will be a template that will be saved for the organization. So I'll first save this as a personal template. And then let me go back into portfolio and then predefined template example. I'll go into that plan. I'll go into inserting a template. Now what you see is I already had a personal template, but I like this one. So I click on that template. And this is really great because maybe you're doing different types of projects where you're finding that you need that structure that you can save. And then this is kind of your shortcut. The template resource is, so this gives you an opportunity to map your resources from the template to the plan, and you insert the template. So there you go. So you can see here that this is the same template that I had before from that other plan, and now I can start it from today's. You can start scope. So all of these things are coming into play and connected.
Templates are a great way to kind of expedite that project creation process and create those, repeatable formats, right, for you to create your schedule and not have to redo everything by hand. And Deb's going to go into, there are a couple other ways so that to create your templates. So you have, the ways that you're able to create the templates using existing OnePlan schedules, or schedules that your organization has identified and saved off templates. But like Deb was mentioning, say you've been using Excel, there's a couple of import options that are available to you, so you can bring in those Excel schedules into your work plan.
All right, let's just say that I am. Let's just say that I now am creating my tasks. I'm using Excel, right? Some organizations do, and that's what we're using for tracking. To import, like here's the CSV file. So I have the tasks. Now I want to go ahead and do that import.
Insert template.
Okay, so there's different ways that there's two different ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you how to import from a CSV file, and then also perhaps you have saved something off in a from another schedule inside of OnePlan that you are able to go ahead and import. I'm going to import from that CSV and select a file, import tasks from the CSV file, and then when I go to next, I can find the template field, and then I can map the fields that I need, duration, and then we imported the tasks. Now in this particular one, task 1, I did not map it properly, but you can see that you can start to build it out. And so what you would need to do in order to be able to import it is you need to make sure that all of the tasks, the things that you want to import from the CSV are also able to be mapped to OnePlan. Again, you can start from here, and then you can say when you want to start, and then you can get this due date and be able to start to assign your resources inside of the file here. Another way that you can import a file, let's just say that I had a plan that I really liked. I can actually export this out, and I can save it as a work plan. I have this template that now I can add to my template library. So when I go to the templates, I can now import, and then I can select the file from the downloads, and I can import that into this plan. Now this one is going to duplicate the tasks, but what that does for you is it makes it much easier to be able to continue to use project planning schedules that you prefer, and then be able to build on them. Now, the one thing that's important to note for all of this is that when you do these imports, you would need to redo the dependencies. But otherwise, you've got the structure and everything here. I'm going to speed this up. There's another opportunity here that I want to show you is you can use Sophia, our virtual AI assistant. And so I'm going to ask Sophia, our virtual AI assistant, to create a template. So for AI, I want to create a template. Goodness. Got click happy. So the virtual assistant is now going out and finding the different ways that other plans that are like what I have asked for can be created. So you can keep this, you can try it again for the sake of time here, and then next to continue. And then I can map the plan resources as I go through. I can add named resources if I want. I can continue to add, I can insert the template as is, and then I can continue to work on it here. So this is a great time saver for you using templates. I think I'm going to show you how if you're using Microsoft Project, for example, we do have the OnePlan connector where you can continue to work in OnePlan or in Project, and then you can publish that plan out to OnePlan so that it is centralized in the portfolio. For the sake of time, we can do that on a deeper dive, but you can see here that there is a connected system, and these connected systems, right, will show you what the different which ones are available for you inside of your configuration. Once you have that, you can connect it, and then you have that pathway between these two systems to be able to um, to publish and update. Now, when you publish from project, it is a one-way. So this is non-editable, so you know that everything that you're doing in project will be moved into OnePlan. I'm going to turn it over to you. Oh, nope, one more. This is how to create a plan from scratch. I'm going to go back into my home here, and what I've done is show plans I own, and I'm going to, we've created this list. Okay, so let's talk through, and Tina's going to go into the advanced features. Real quickly, what I did was, remember, you need to have this plan created and those details filled out. The auto scheduling tells me that everything's going to be scheduled from this start date. And like other scheduling tools, you can add tasks multiple ways. This is a great way to add a task. And then, right, task 1, task 2, 3. I can actually even turn this into a milestone, milestone 1. Right, so this is very much like a sheet, like the sheets that you're used to using, whether you're using, you know, whatever those tools are that allow you to enter this as the worksheet. We'll show you more about the Gantt. You can see how the Gantt starts playing itself out. We are auto scheduling with dependencies. Make sure, because this is an online tool, this dot is one that asks you or tells you you need to save. You can highlight multiple tasks, and you can create links and dependencies. You can look at it through the Gantt here. You can, you can expand or highlight. So very much how you do it today. Maybe you're not needing to use those dependencies just yet, but this is the opportunity for you to create that list. Best practices, just like you do with any other type of scheduling engine, you would create the tasks, you do the durations. Perhaps you've got a deadline here that you might want to meet, but you can drag and drop the columns. You can create what that effort is, right? And then Tina will go into very quickly how you can assign it and what those look like. So this is very basic. There's different views, right? And she'll show you how to add other resources. You can add resources. The resources here, you can add them here. You can find a resource, right? So you can start building out your schedule. This is very quick. I just want to make sure that we get through everything. You can, as you start creating this schedule, you can start looking at the critical path. You can go in and you can show what that critical path is. You can see that these are the critical tasks. You can also show, if you haven't baselined, you can save a baseline. Okay, make sure you save early and save often. And Tina will take you into more advanced. You can see that you can baseline all tasks. OnePlan, like other scheduling engines, will allow you to save multiple baselines up to 11, including baseline 0. And baseline 0 is where that core, your initial plan is. So I can go in and now show the baseline in here so you have a good start. Now I want to turn this over
Real quick.
to Tina. Yeah.
Can you demonstrate quickly how to create kind of subtasks in your schedule?
Oh, sure. Different ways you can do it. You can add a subtask like a risk, or insert just the subtask below here. There's different ways you can do that. You can insert tasks. Again, you can insert tasks. You can make these subtasks. You can add below, above, right? So that you can continue to see how you can create these tasks very similarly to the way that you use your other scheduling engines.
Thanks, Deb. Alrighty, so now Deb kind of walked you through the quick rundown of how to add tasks and build out your schedule in the work plan. So now I'm going to take you through a bit more of that in-depth advanced content, specifically talking about advanced scheduling techniques using dependencies and constraints. So again, it's really important to reiterate that in OnePlan, your schedules are always going to be forward scheduled. We do not, so that means you have your start date and everything schedules out from that start date. We do not support backwards scheduling where you have a finish date and then you can schedule backwards from there. We only support forward scheduling. And then in OnePlan, there are a couple of ways that your schedule can be set up. You can have it set up manually to manual schedule, which means that you as the project manager, it essentially turns OnePlan into a big spreadsheet where you're typing in all of the data and information for your different tasks, and the scheduling engine doesn't try to intervene and do its smart scheduling. But we highly recommend, and it's best practice, to use auto schedule to let that scheduling engine behind the schedule that you create do the work for you, do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in terms of scheduling out your tasks. As after you sequence them, given them durations, then the scheduling engine will take that information you give it and schedule out your tasks for you. So that's auto versus manual scheduled. And again, best practice is to use auto schedule. The next piece then that is important to understand is this task type. And this really goes into how in OnePlan there's in scheduling, all scheduling engines, there's going to be this mathematical relationship between your task start dates, your task duration, and your task effort. So we're going to go into that into a bit more detail, but you can see here that OnePlan has a couple of different modes for your tasks and how that relationship works. Out of the box, and our most recommended best practice is to use fixed duration, effort driven. And what that means is that the duration and the effort for your tasks are going to be handled by you, the project manager. Those are going to be fixed by the project manager, and the scheduling engine doesn't have a say over those two items. But what happens then is that unit, so for your percent allocated, your resources, and I'll show you this in the schedule in a second, that's going to be calculated by the scheduling engine. So we're really going to focus on fixed duration effort driven today, since we only have so much time, but we have lots of documentation on the other task types as well. However, fixed duration effort driven is really what we encourage you to use. So with that, let's dive into the work plan and take a look at dependencies. So now that we have the schedule built out, and I'm going to go ahead and expand it, we need to start creating relationships between the items in our schedule. And I'll open up the Gantt chart so you can really see what I'm talking about. So you can see this has actually been scheduled out for me here. These are all connected due to the fact that they have dependencies. This relationship. So dependencies are really going to be the relationships between your tasks, right? You have your predecessors and your successors, and then the dependencies really dictate how that relationship between the predecessor and the successor work. So there are a couple different ways, and the most common way, and you'll see that here, all of these are going to be start to finish successors. So what that means is that, finish to start. So what that means is that your successor task or the second task cannot start until the task before it has completed. So you can see how this kind of is shaking out here in this schedule, where you have this nice waterfall where the line goes from the end of one task to the front of the next, and so on. So that is the out-of-the-box finish to start. OnePlan also supports start to start, where where you have sort of this relationship here, where a successor task cannot have a start date before the start date of its predecessor. So it has to start after the predecessor starts. Then we also have, similarly, there's a finish to finish relationship that you can set up. So finish to finish relationships is a successor task. The second task cannot have an end date before the end date of the task before it. And the final dependency relationship that OnePlan supports is a start to finish relationship. So what that means is that a successor task cannot have an end date before the start date of the predecessor. So what that looks like is like this, really kind of obscure looking connection. So the start date and the start date of the successor and the finish date of the, excuse me, other way around. The start date of the predecessor and the end date of the successor are directly related to each other.
Yeah, we rarely see those.
Yes,
But,
the most
yeah.
common is this finish to start, right? You finish the task before you can start the next one. Go ahead and clear my screen here. So to create these connections between these tasks, it's really simple in OnePlan. You simply, you can shift click or control click to select multiple items, and then you click this link button. And what this does is it creates those dependencies between the tasks that you've selected. Again, best practice, project management's best practice is you do not want to create relationships between subtasks and parent tasks. You only want to create those dependencies between those lowest level tasks. So you'll simply click this link button. These are already linked, so that's not going to change. To remove dependencies, you select those tasks and then you just click this unlink button. And now you can see that relationship has been removed. You can see the lines are gone here. I'm going to go ahead and recreate that. And now we have our dependencies here again.
And the cool thing is that you can see that this is very much like other scheduling tools
Yep.
that you may already be used to using.
Absolutely. So very straightforward on creating dependencies. Now you can have a little bit more fine-grained control over your dependencies out of the box and by default. OnePlan is going to use that finish to start relationship, but you can go into the contextual menu and click on Advanced Edit, and then you can edit these predecessors and successors, and you can really have control over how this relationship works, right? I can add even more, I can change the relationship, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and we're going to save. Awesome. So those are dependencies, and dependencies, again, are just those relationships between your tasks. And I showed you how to add and remove dependencies. So next up, and similar to dependencies, are going to be constraints. So all schedules have constraints, and this constraint defines the schedulable range for a task. The date range is created by the constraint date and the constraint type. And the constraint type restricts the event start and end dates to being not earlier than, not later than, or equal to the provided constraint date. So really what this means is that you're providing these hard guardrails for these tasks in your schedule, right? When you create these dependencies, it's like loose connections between all of the tasks in your schedule. And when you update information, maybe the date of a predecessor task, it's going to push the dates for your successor tasks back, but there's not going to be a hard wall that you're going to run into. But when you enter constraints into the mix, you're going to start running into those hard walls, and you're going to start to potentially run into issues with your schedule. So it's important to understand constraints and how they can enter into your schedule and what they mean. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new column to the view here. I'm going to add the constraint type. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here, so we can see the constraint types. There we go. So now we have our constraint type. So in OnePlan, there are a few constraints, a handful of constraints that it supports. So the most common is going to be as soon as possible. As soon as possible, meaning that you're going to be completing these tasks as soon as you possibly can. So it's going to be scheduling based off of the start date and pushing out from there. Next, we have start no earlier than, which you see a lot of these are. And start no earlier means that the task has to start on or after the date provided. So these tasks are all going to have to start on or after the dates in these start date columns with this constraint type of start no earlier than. There's also start no later than, where this task has to start before or on this start date. finish no earlier than and finish no later than, similarly, but with the due date. And then we have must start on and must finish on, where the task either must start on the date provided or must finish on the date provided. So there are different levels of confinement that these different constraints and enter into the schedule. So it's important to understand it. We have a lot of documentation on how these constraints look and act inside of the schedule, but it's important to know how to, you can add this constraint type view here into the schedule so you can quickly identify the constraints that are in your schedule. So you can go ahead and reset these constraints actually. If you have this view here in the if you have the constraint type column in the view, you can actually set this to as soon as possible, which is going to be your most common constraint, right? Or you can go into, again, click on the contextual menu, advanced edit. And if you go to advanced, you can update this constraint type. So I'm going to set it to none, which also equals start no earlier than. And that is how you can reset and get rid of constraints and update them if you're having issues with your schedule. The last piece then with constraints and ways that you can avoid entering constraints into your schedule is to use lead and lag. So lead and lag are ways that you can, with the dependencies that you've created, you can kind of create separation or overlap of your tasks using lead and lag. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Gantt chart again really quick. And I'm going to take my little pen. And I'll show you guys. Lag being you're creating space, right? You're expanding this space between your tasks. And instead of manually entering in the start and end dates for these tasks, which will enter constraints into your schedule, you'll use a lead and lag instead. So using lag, you have your predecessor here, and you can set maybe a 2-day lag to create some space between your tasks. So let's say this is 2 days, right? You can also use the reverse lead, which is a negative lag value, to bring these together and create that negative space, -2 days. So rather than manually entering in the start and due dates and entering in those constraints, you're going to use lead and lag to create either that space or that overlap between your tasks and keep your schedule flexible. So to do that really quick, I know we're running short on time. I'll show you really quickly where that information is. If you go into a task and you go to the advanced edit again, lead and lag are going to be available in this predecessor and successor. Excuse me, let me get rid of those drawings. There we go. In that predecessor and successor tab. So you're actually able to set up lead and lag here. Maybe I want 2 days of lag. Now you can start to see things get pushed out in my schedule. Or maybe I want this to be lead and I can set up negative values and then they get pushed together. So you can use lead and lag to have even more fine-grained control over your schedule. Deb showed you the critical path and now assigning resources. So like I said, we have that relationship between duration, effort, and assigned resources, right? So now you can see, you can click into the assigned resources and you can start to assign more resources. We'll click save, and then the scheduling engine is going to go ahead and divide that resource allocation between these resources, but the effort and duration will remain the same, and that's because we have that fixed duration effort-driven setting for our tasks. So the scheduling engine then is going to start to do the work of splitting out the effort for, or the allocation for this task between all the resources that you assign to that task. So that was a really quick rundown. We have a lot of great information, but we are getting to the end of today's session. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that before we wrap up today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this back to Deb for the wrap up.
All right. So our goal today was to help you understand how OnePlan's work plan module is designed to align with industry best practices and demonstrate how the work planner, all the different ways the work planner can empower your organization's ability to create robust work plans for your projects. We walked you through, next slide. We walked you through the basics of setting up and navigating the work plan module, including the different ways you can simplify your project scheduling with user-friendly tools or tools that you already are used to using, how you can manage backlogs visually, the boards. We we can get into a little bit another time, but there's different ways that you can visually represent and see what you're doing. Tina showed that to you at the very beginning. The ways you can create customized work plans using our Sophia virtual AI assistant, being able to, showing you how you can use tools that you're already used to using to create a seamless integration with those project management tools. And as we demonstrated today, OnePlan provides project managers with a comprehensive set of features to enable effective ways and resources to let you plan, track, collaborate, and report. That way you can become more efficient and successful in delivering your projects. As you start your journey with OnePlan, we also want to give you other resources and the tools that you can use to optimize your project management endeavors and drive tangible results for you and your organization. Please be sure to check out OnePlan Academy as a resource. You see the URL there if you haven't already checked it out. OnePlan support has a lot of different articles and how-tos. And then also, just to let you know that our next Tech Tuesday topic is going to be on April 23rd. We're going to talk about the May product release, give you a sneak peek of that. Just another reminder, today's webinar was recorded, and the recording is going to be made available afterward on our support portal in OnePlan Academy. We hope that this webinar has helped you and equipped you with practical insights that you can use on how you can use OnePlan, particularly the work plan, to initiate, plan, execute, control, and close out your projects. Thanks so much for your participation, and we look forward to accompanying you on your project management journey.
Thank you, everyone.